Hello, everyone. It is my great pleasure to welcome you for yet another BizTalk and yet another episode of Hitchhiker's Guide to Startups. And today we will be talking about incubators, accelerators, and partners. And after the discussion that actually started here in the backstage, we will get some naughty insights from the people who knows more about accelerators than pretty much anyone else I know. So it is my great pleasure to welcome here Agnieszka Cichocka from Huge and Bartosz Józefowski from Krakowski Park Technologiczny. And as always, I tend not to speak too much about my speakers and give them the floor. So please, Agnieszka, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Thanks a lot. It's my pleasure to be here with you today. And yes, that's true that the discussion in the backstage was very interesting. So I hope we'll continue here live as well. So my name is Agnieszka Cichocka, and I'm working for HugeThink as acceleration manager. I'm responsible right now for running a pre-acceleration program in partnership with Google for Startups. And HugeThink is part of Speed Up Group, which is a group of VC funds and is an accelerator. But we also we have those two legs. So on one hand, we're working with startups and we're helping them grow. But on the other hand, we're working with corporates, and we also try to introduce innovations in those corporations and help them work with startups, work with corporations. So this is basically what we do. We're also one of the operators of Poland Prize, which is a program financed by PARP, and its aim is to bring foreign startups to Poland and help them grow. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And now, Bartosz, your turn.
Hi everyone. As I was introduced, Bartosz from Krakow Technology Park. So um, I have been doing this for 9 years now. So working with startups, I started working in tech incubator that we have in our technology park, and we've started as let's say ongoing support for tech companies in Krakow. And during those years, it grew. Now it's run by Sonia Bazan, that I highly recommend as a contact on LinkedIn. And it grew, and now we also tend to work in like program wise. So we have incubation programs rather than just ongoing incubation all the time. And then I was responsible for building up KPT Scale Up, that is our acceleration program dedicated to industrial companies. So we are focused kind of on Industry 4.0 revolution as our main topic. And this acceleration program also grew. Now we, apart from doing this for Polish companies, we also, as Agnieszka mentioned about HugeThink, we are doing this for international companies. And the scope also grew beyond what I'm, let's say, active in. So we also started working heavily with games companies, gaming, some space tech, smaller programs dedicated for those topics. So it's kind of right now we are all around in terms of what we are doing in acceleration and incubation in our company.
Awesome, awesome. Also, huge fan of gaming industry and game tech in general. So that's absolutely great idea for me, and probably I'll come up with a couple of additional questions if we have time. But let's start from like a beginning, and let's start from the basics. A little bit 101 would be good. So. Acceleration and incubation. I often hear that those terms are used like pretty much with the same meaning, although they should not. So can you tell us a little bit more what are the biggest differentiation between acceleration and incubation programs, and also where that pre-acceleration that you, Agnieszka, mentioned, it lies between those two.
it will be like the discussion between the difference between pledge and donation. I think, I believe, if someone is following the Johnny's Depp trial. I can say about incubation and acceleration, and maybe then Agnieszka will show how the pre-acceleration fits. So basically, it's all about the maturity of startup, or the maturity of idea and the organization behind the startup. When we are talking about incubation, we are talking about early stage programs when we kind of create companies. So we are looking for, let's say, using the terms from like business model generation, we would say that we are focusing more on problem solution fit and customer discovery rather. And when we are in the later stage, we are focusing more on in acceleration programs. We are more focusing on product market fit and business model fit. So about this is kind of the main differentiator for me. Difficult word. So if you are early stage, we are creating your company. Basically, we are looking for your value proposition. We are looking for your perfect customer. Then we are talking more about incubator and about building the team. And if we are looking for methods to scale, to speed up your growth, then we are talking about acceleration program.
Okay, thank you. And
Yes,
Agnieszka?
maybe I'll just add that also the incubators, they don't usually invest, and the incubation process lasts longer. Whether accelerators do invest, well, not always, but they sometimes do invest, or either give grants, or they give the grant in for the shares. So it really depends. And the acceleration usually lasts between 3 to 6 months. So it's a fast process. And now, where the pre-acceleration comes in. So the pre-acceleration is a phase where you already have a draft version of your MVP, I would say. And in the pre-acceleration, you can verify if it works. So for example, in our pre-acceleration program, this is how it works: that we're looking for startups with a draft version of MVP, and then in the whole process, we help them verify it, and also we try to help them find the first investor, and of course prepared them to find the first investor, because it's not that easy. So before we contact them with, like with potential investors, we do help them to prepare their pitch decks, and also to find out how to talk with the investor, what's important for them, etc., etc.
Agreeing with Agnieszka, I have to say that at this point, I think this is clear that this is not really exact science. So this is not like very super strict, because I would add that there are some programs that, for example, are more focusing on being investor ready. So acceleration program that are focusing kind of to prepare you to be investor ready. And there are some acceleration program that is often met in Poland that are focusing on finding business partners and like finding your, let's say, customers that you could be kind of using to scale. And we also talk about pre-incubation. So now, if we kind of look at the scope, you should really carefully look at what you are signing for, because the word it could really be understood different ways in different companies, and sometimes it may be the startup school, and sometimes it may be team and business development program. So check carefully what the people behind the logo have in mind. But I think that what we've said with Agnieszka is kind of general rule.
Yeah. So we were invited here to make things clear, but as you can see, like we're just, trying to make it more and more complicated, because the startup world is complicated, right? So yeah, I just wanted to add, I totally agree, because like for example, in our pre-acceleration, this is how we do it, that we try to help them find the first investor. But we're both operators in Poland Prize, as you may have already found out, because we were talking about it at the beginning. And this is a program where both of us work with corporations, and we scout the startups to be able to work with those corporations later on, and they need to be interested in the ideas. So yeah, that's how it works. So it doesn't always have to be an investor, but also very often we're looking for a client there.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I purposely did not mention pre incubation as well, not to like add to that complicated chessboard, but there is part in your answer that partially that is actually a good segue to the next question, uh, because you Bartosz mentioned that like you should always look what is that program for behind the logo. So like, and my question is like, what questions the founders should ask themselves before applying for a certain acceleration or incubation program? Do you have any recommendation for
um, let's start with a question: do we really need that? I think that's it's funny when we meet with some companies, and at some point we ask them, okay, you are so awesome. They are pitching and they are showing that, oh, this works and this works and we are so great, and we are asking like, okay, so how we can help you? So what doesn't work? So do you have problem with some business hypothesis that you don't have, you don't know how to kind of verify? You have problem with access to market, with business processes, and then like, and it's clear that they haven't thought about that. So they don't know why they are coming there, apart from the small amount of money that usually is connected to the program. But it's sometimes not worth it. So ask yourself, do we really need that, and what do we want to get out of it? So the first question would be that. Yeah.
So I will ping pong that back. Maybe sometimes it is just going for like expanding your network with the like people with a lot of experience in that particular field.
Yeah, so okay, it's cool, and we see like, I'm happy to say that many companies right now, I think, appreciate what we have built in Krakow and in Krakow Technology Park, and that we have this very specific kind of ecosystem around industry, and people value that. So, and if you are aware that this is your decision, that you are coming to Krakow Technology Park because you want to be a part of the, let's say, family. First of all, I'm excited to hear that, and that's good motivation, yeah, because we will not probably help you, and we will not consider you in all our activities, other activities, if we don't kind of know you and we haven't had the opportunity to work with you. So this is the entry point for people to our ecosystem, like those, let's say, um, hundreds of companies that we kind of try to work with. Then the entry level is we have to have a proof that you are a good company that delivers, and usually this is either incubation or acceleration program. So yeah, so you are totally right that it could be motivation.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I totally agree. I mean, all the answers why you go to an acceleration programs are good, if you know why you're doing it. So I think you should first assess like where you are with your project and what you really need and what your motivation is, because like sometimes people, because like for some people it's they just think it's the way to do it, that at some point they need to go to an acceleration program and that will help them, and they don't really ask themselves what they want to get out of it. But everyone does it, so they also do it, and they send those applications to all the accelerations programs that they can find in the web. And then like you contact them and say, hey, you applied, and you get to the next step, and they don't really know what they applied to, why they applied there, why they want to be there. So this is not the good way to do that. I think when you ask yourself a question, why, and where you are with your project, if you go to an acceleration program because of funding, or you want to find investors, or you want to broaden your network, or you have some specific challenges, I don't know, with scaling, sales, business model, or whatever it is, definitely it's a good way. But the most important is that you know why you're there or why you want to be there.
Yeah. I think that we can quickly say what are the values that you can gain publicity when you go, for example, for like uh, uh, mm, incubation or acceleration program connected to people like, let's say, Kulczyk in Poland. Then you get a lot of publicity, and he opens some door to big corporations. If you go to acceleration programs like Y Combinator in Silicon Valley, then you have this huge, like, um, first of all, seal of excellence, that the proof that you are kind of a company that's understands the game, knows how the bread is made. But also you have huge network of investors, like Silicon Valley type investors. If you don't have this ultra fast growing startup with potential to be attractive for Silicon Valley, then looking for network in accelerators in Poland would be also it's a great idea. And for example, in Krakow, it would be more about clients and business connections. And I would say, my guess is, Agnieszka, check, huge thing is more have bigger network in terms of VCs in Europe, for example. Yeah, so my guess would be, if somebody would say, I'm considering entering the huge thing acceleration program or pre-acceleration program, I would say, okay, they are doing this with Google. They have this network of international investors. So if you are in the stage that, let's say, you will be fundraising in Europe, then this is a great match.
Thank you. Thank you. And so, yeah, we answered those questions. And let's say my hypothetical startup is somewhere on that scale between like a pre-incubation and full-on acceleration. So can you tell us a little bit how to spot that you are ready for acceleration, and you are still in that stage that you should go for either pre-acceleration or incubation? I know that you already mentioned that, like, the difference between the product market fit and the idea to enter the market. But yeah, if you have like a maybe a couple more insights or advice to the founders.
Yeah, well, so I think if you have an MVP and then you have an established product market fit, then it's a time for the acceleration. Of course, if it's an idea phase, you don't have your established company yet, then it's definitely a pre-incubation or incubation. Incubation after you start a company, but they don't differ that much really. So yeah, and also I think if you have some specific challenges, I think then it's because if it like works, but you want to expand, you want to scale, you want to build up on your strategies, then it's definitely time for an acceleration if you just want to grow fast and speed up. But you need to have this MVP in the hands of early adopters to enter the acceleration program.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Any additional tips from you, Bartosz?
Nothing to add.
Okay, perfect. So uh, that question will be also like adding up on top of what you already said, Bartosz. It's like with the proliferation, or like with the abundance. Oh, that's the easier word. Well, with the abundance of incubators, accelerators. So what are the things that founders should always take a look at when they're choosing the right one for them? So like you mentioned that, like, your KPT scale up would help them connect with potential clients easier, and huge thing would be better for connecting with VCs. So, do you have any other advice what they should look at?
Oh, no, this is a difficult question because um, let's say with acceleration programs it seems to be easier because already I understand that if you are considering acceleration program, it means that you are already on this let's say startup market, so you know some people, you can just ask people about and ask them their opinion about some programs and look for graduates. I like to say, if you are considering a program, get to their page and look if the focus is on the people and program, or it's about graduates. So if it's all about showing how awesome we are, then maybe it's not the best case. And if the acceleration program is all about showing how awesome our companies that we have the chance to work with, then this is always a plus for me. But this is something that I look for, that there will be huge focus on how we can help our clients, not how awesome we are in this game. um but of course it's checking who is running it, what reputation they have. It's looking at graduates, it's looking about rules, it's looking at it's not kind of, yeah, it's valuing yourself and your time, because sometimes those programs can be really kind of grabbing your attention and taking a lot of time, and not necessarily giving the value from it. So I think that people, if you are, let's say, seasoned entrepreneur, you've been there, you've done, let's say, one or two companies already, then you will be having a totally different expectations, and you will be valuing totally different things than, let's say, first time founders. Yeah. We, for example, stopped doing the startup school, let's say. So we all, like, we do some training in sales because we want to be sure that we all speak the same language in terms of sales. This is crucial for industrial companies. We do training in communication and pitching, and financial management, let's say, for finances, because we understand that a lot of people don't know what is profit and loss account and stuff like that. So we do this, and then everything else is just mentoring and connections. But there are some programs that still kind of go through what is your business model, what is your product market fit, value proposition, what is your one sentence pitch, what is your customer segmentation, and for many companies it's super important to go through it. Um, yeah. And okay, and last more thing, choose people that kind of you will listen to. So they have this gravitas that will make you think about your business. If you from the day one think that you are smarter than those people in the acceleration program or incubation program, and you go there because they can open your door for, let's say, to some big company, and that's it, then there is a problem. Use people that you have respect for, and you kind of feel this gravitas, and this, that, like, if they will say that something is not working in my company, they probably are right. Not like, I know better. So yeah.
Oh, thank you. I guess there is definitely a fragment here that I will have to cut off and like put myself to sleep with every single day. Like, remember, you are not the smartest person in the room. Yeah. So, Agnieszka, anything from your side?
Yeah, well, I think, that's what Bartek said was, it's what I think as well. So, I mean, you should look, like who the mentors are. And also, I think it's good to look for an accelerator who has more individual approach as well, so that you don't only have things or workshops or some consultations that are run all together with others, but also on a more individual basis, so that you know that apart from what everyone gets, you can also get something very individual that will that you can concentrate with the mentor on your very specific challenge. So I think this is important. And also, I think that what is important are the real connections, because, like, also there is a lot of PR and so on. Everyone works with someone, but I think it is really important to check like what kind of cooperation it is. If those people work really closely, if those corporates are really like real partners that you can, like get those connections or somehow try to test your ideas there, etc. And so I think the network that an accelerator has is very important, and the real connections, and of course, like if they help later on, because I think it is important also for accelerators to have this approach that, like your role doesn't end on demo day. It's like, because it doesn't mean that the startup is ready for you not to contact them anymore, that they go just their own way, because they still have those challenges. They still want to keep in touch with you. Sometimes even on the demo day, they are not ready, like to talk with investors, because they still need to finish something, etc. So they need you a little bit later on. And I think building this community of trust also, but of like being, there for those people is very important. And I think that's why all those maybe not all, but a lot of accelerators in the US are so well known and successful, because they have those alumni clubs and they create an environment for those people to be there even after the program ends. And I think such a support is very important. And I would look for a place which, like gives you such a support.
Okay,
And,
thank you.
and can I do also a little? I liked especially the thing about alumni and so on. This is really something that Poland has to catch up. Also, we don't have this culture of supporting each other and building clubs. So good thought. But I also have a twist to your question. It's it's not necessarily that you as a young startup, young company, you are able, just to kind of choose from many acceleration programs. Usually is that we also kind of have, let's say, 100 150 applications for every batch we are doing, and let's say average success rate that we are happy with is 10% or less. Yeah, so it's usually less, and we are happy then when it's less, but 10% is decent. Also, depending on how specialized it is. So you will need also to try kind of different programs, and you will just have to kind of this matchmaking, like also investors on the one side, they have to be picky and look for something that works for them, but at the same time they are fighting for deals, and it's not like like you are always the first in the line. So be smart. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So you want to say that my baby startup idea is not the greatest that has ever been conceived? I cannot believe that, but okay.
Yeah.
So let's go to another question that both of you helps the startups in your programs working actually with the corporations like Google for Startup, Żabka, or Solaris. So, what are the benefits for startups to actually working with the big companies like this, except obviously the revenue and getting the client, them as the client?
Mhm. So I will just start with that. This concept of acceleration as a cooperation of startups with big companies kind of grew in Poland a few years ago, and it was, I think, mostly inspired by Techstars, because Techstars started opening new programs with corporations, and in Poland it was kind of won the market almost 100% because of funding from EU funds. So we've seen a lot of money put into acceleration programs, that allowed many operators, many companies like ours, like Huge Thing and so on, to kind of build up great teams and kind of great programs. But it was connected with cooperation with big companies. But it's not the rule. I think that the cooperation, for example, with Google for startups, it's not the same kind of creature. So Agnieszka will probably say more. I see that, for example, Reactor X is also the incubation program that's different kind of creature, and we have those incubation for gaming companies. It's different kind of creature also. So let's see the market, and internationally it's acceleration is something also different. So let's see that we have huge number of acceleration programs that focus on corporates, um, but there are also choices for other types of companies that necessarily don't have this in mind. And then saying what's the main goal and advantage of having corporation is, if you are a B2E, business to enterprise startup, then finding quickly a client that will spend the time with you, that will show you what is their decision process. They will show you what is their compliance process. They will show you what is their the integrations that are needed for the product. The client that is kind of forgiving but also demanding. You will learn how the time flies in the corporation. You will see, and basically you will also find a champion, because like I know that, let's say, Grupa Azoty recently, their CEO was giving this talk about innovations, and I think that in 10 minutes talk he mentioned 7 of our graduated companies. So he has prepared those slides showing, oh, this is awesome, this is awesome, this is awesome, this company delivers value for our company. So you gain this champion that can kind of, you can use them as the social proof that you are good, let's say, a supplier. And when, if you know about the crossing the chasm from Jeffrey Moore, that it's easy to find early adopters, but it's difficult kind of to jump over this chasm, to jump to the early majority, because the early majority of companies or clients, they demand the social proof. They are not looking for something new, they are looking for something that is checked. And those huge players can be your social proof that it works.
Yeah, the credibility that they give you is definitely worth a lot.
I think just to add, it's maybe interesting for those companies that they can, I mean, for startups, that they can also work with the experts from those companies. So, like, it's a huge knowledge. And I think also it's very interesting to go along this path of working with a corporation, because it's very specific. Of course, it differs a lot. It's different to work with Żabka, with Grupa Azoty, probably with Google for Startups, etc. But like, there are some similarities, and this is interesting to just go along this path. And I think being able to test the solutions, like, as we had, like, our startups had a possibility to do it with Żabka. That's, like, one of the things why they wanted to participate in the program, was to test the solutions in their labs, and also work with technical experts and basically experts from there. So this is all that, like, makes it very, very interesting. But also, like, it teaches patience, I think, because it's a very, like, long process. And the startups also, sometimes they think, okay, great, so what, like, we started with them, so we're going to be successful after a month, and we're going to get this great contract, etc. So this is sometimes what they're thinking is when they start. And very often they don't think about other I don't know, like contracts or working or looking for a funding or looking for other customers because they are so concentrated on that one and they don't really know and understand that it's going to take a long time. And it's, like even if they are going to get a contract at the end, it's not going to be next month. That's for sure. And yeah.
Are we starting to talking about threats, about the difficulties? Because
I wanted to ask that question. I wanted
yeah,
to go from
yeah,
that to
because
hear more
because
what
But
we
I
were
can see,
talking in the
Bartek,
back.
you got excited. So I'm sure that you have the whole list, they're prepared for today.
yeah,
Please carry on. The floor is yours.
no, but the first one was crucial. So Agnieszka, what you've mentioned is crucial, really. So it takes time, and it really it's not also please respect big companies. It flows in this time because um, they have a lot of value to save. Like they have this market value that they have to protect for the owners. So that's why they are not putting all the risk on the table, and they don't move so fast, because they have huge value that have to protect somehow, a lot of assets and thousands of people employed. That's why they cannot kind of move fast and break things, because this is kind of and not because the people are slow or they are lazy or they have bad procedures. It's just big ship. That's why it lasts. um, I like the I think that colleagues from Hubraum, this is the Deutsche Telekom group, incubator or acceleration program. They kind of, or let's say the special division for innovations of Deutsche Telekom T-Mobile. They were often showing the slides of a huge planet and the satellite, and they were showing that it's obvious that you are flying close to huge, let's say, this planet, and and there is the orbit for you that is correct, the orbit that you will kind of use this planet to speed up, because there is this this idea of accelerating using the gravity of this huge planet. And so this is a good idea, but you have to be like perfect in terms of the orbit, because if you fly too close, so if you are, let's say, allowing the corporation to make all the decisions about your product, and you kind of always try to fit to their demand, at some point you are tailored made solution for one company. You are not answering the market, you are answering this huge company. And sometimes also so then you fall into the planet, really, and or you burn in the atmosphere, because you've spent so much time and so much effort and money, and maybe you even have this technological debt right now, because you've made those decisions to fit the corporation, that you are not really prepared for the market. And you can also go other way around, so you can kind of bounce out from this planet, from the atmosphere of this planet, and you can, because you don't know how to hook to this corporation, so you kind of, you talk with the same in the same language, the technology is interesting, but there's lack of either chemistry of joint language, or deep understanding of value, or there is no really a sponsor in this, like sponsor in this organization, so there is no buy-in from the corporation. So everything is interesting, like we often see that okay, it's nice, like it's AR, VR, AI, or whatever, blockchain. So everybody in the organization knows that it's interesting, but there is no one who is really like, yes, this is crucial for us. So you play with them, but at some point they kind of lose interest, and you go totally different way that you wanted. You lose them, because it's just not such a big deal for them. So there is this really narrow orbit that you have to fit to kind of really gain from the this cooperation with huge enterprise.
thank you, and I absolutely love the metaphor about getting that acceleration from that gravity.
I hope it's not copyrighted by Hubraum, but yeah, this is
No,
there.
no, no. They use that in the sci-fi movie Martian. So they use exactly the same thing. So I'm pretty sure it's not copyrighted. So we're getting close to the end, but there's still a question that I really want to ask you. So like, what is the best way to leverage the incubators or accelerators network of people to improve your startups? Do you see any best strategies or something that you recommend for all the startups? And I already know, like, listen to the people who are there. You're not the smartest person in the room, but it's, as you said, those programs are usually like 3 to 6 months, so that time is limited. So how to get the most of it? Do you have any recommendations?
Well, I think my recommendation would be just be present and be curious, because sometimes you just enter the program and you don't participate that much, or you're just not curious enough. And there are some people who they really want to know everything, and sometimes you might get a bit irritated because they just they're all around and they ask you a lot of questions and they want to know and this and that. But well, I think it really adds up to that success, because if you participate in the meetings, then you can, of course, meet the people, but also, like, they're talking about a lot of interesting things. And very often they are very inspirational. And you can, like, share the knowledge. You hear that, you hear this. And sometimes, you just, well, even if it's not something that you're going to use the next day, it might be something that after a month, you will just have a problem, and this will occur to be the solution. So I think listening to people and being open to feedback and just being present and being curious, I would say these are my um, three things to achieve success there.
Mhm.
Thank you,
Um,
Bartosz.
my, my first thought, sadly, is that the 80% of success is showing up. I say sadly because I see more and more companies that kind of grab all those programs and look for new opportunities, and then they just don't have capacity to kind of use it. So this is waste of their times and often ours time. So really be present and choose wisely, like the scope of the capacity that you have to participate in programs. Um, because it will take your time. Don't send like employees to mentoring meeting is useless, and we always kind of we just don't allow it. Like we say that hey, don't be silly. It's not for them. It's for you. Um, so yeah, be present, be show up. It's the key. I would also would like to go back to just think again if you really need that. I understand that some corporations, they have so complex the let's say supply chain and so on, that the easiest way, or sometimes even the only way to enter as a startup their ecosystem, is through acceleration. So many companies kind of right now say, for us it's too complex kind of to start working with you just like that from the street, because we find you interesting. You need to go through acceleration program, because this is kind of established route. There are some rules, there's a lot of um, legitimization from the board of directors for this program. So kind of we have legal stuff already cleared out, so go through acceleration program. And I understand that. So often it's good that companies understand, like startups know why they are there, but also really carefully think, maybe we don't have to go through this. Maybe we can grow without program. Plenty of huge Polish success stories are are not supported. They don't have the story of incubation program or acceleration program here or in US. They've just grew. So yeah, think about if you really need that, and then I think that if you are, then you will find, when you will find the reason why, then you will have the motivation and you will kind of figure it out, what to take.
Thank you. Thank you. Those are very good advices. So the last thing is that how our listeners can follow you and learn more about you and your acceleration programs as well, where they can find more information.
Not everywhere. Just read the internet and you will find us. Honestly, I would recommend, like I often talk to some people, I would recommend, maybe this is strange recommendation, but uh, pfr.gov.pl/start, I think. Uh, um, that the Polish Development Fund, PFR, they don't they have this start website for startups, and they have a lot of information there about incubation, acceleration, grants. So if you are new to this kind of all those creatures, then this would be good page to kind of start. And of course, if you are focused on our offer, then you will find us on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn. And you can kind of sign up for our newsletters if you are really focused on us. But if you look for, I would recommend this website for people who just need to kind of have an overview of landscape.
Okay. Thank you. And Agnieszka?
Yeah, same here. I mean, I think it's startpfr.pl. And if you want to look for information about HugeThink, then you can enter our website, HugeThink .vc, or you can find me on LinkedIn, and you can also find us on LinkedIn and on Facebook and all the social media. And for those from Poland, although I think maybe Mom Startup is also now running in English, I'm not sure, but for sure for those who are from Poland, you can also read there a lot of announcements about incubation and acceleration programs. So I think this is also a good source of info.
Yes, we also use it quite often. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I have a bad news. That was our last BizTalk before the summer break. But there is also good news that we will be back in September after the summer, so where we will learn more about Hitchhiker's Guide to Startups. And I really want to thank my great speaker, Bartosz, Agnieszka. It was great to listen to you and get the insight from the people who are running the acceleration programs to learn what founders should know more than just like where to find the application form.
Thank you for having us. I understand that on next episode we will learn who from our audience, let's say, applied for Poland Prize. This is acceleration programs for international audience, companies from outside of Poland, kind of to establish here. So um, we are waiting for the next episode.
Yes, so all the founders come to Poland.
That would be fantastic. We love the good comeback stories or success stories. So if we can use that to our leverage, I'm up for that.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.